should be structured or planned in proper so that it's a just transition. What's the important role of the future food production or the protein production? And in this transformation, what is the important role of the farmers, the primary producers? It's extremely important. The whole supportive regulatory frameworks, consumer acceptance, we will, of course, analyze all these things, and all the information, all the output that we generate from this type of multidimensional assessments, they will all feed into a systems dynamics model for an integrated assessment. Well, we will try to cover different alternative feature scenarios and how the system could look like. And of course, as you all know, it's a very complicated system. It's a dynamic system. So to be able to understand this complexity, we have to collaborate together. We have to bring different disciplines. We have to bring different sector representatives in our work. That's why we adopted a multi-actor approach, and stakeholder engagement is extremely important in this process. So we make sure that the researchers, industry, public authorities, policymakers, civil society, and consumers will be a part of this project. Next slide, please. Sorry about this little figure here showing the work package structure of the EPIC-Shift projects, but in a very little nutshell, it's the work package 2, which will provide the knowledge necessary for the project. So we need to have a common basic understanding of what we're talking about, and within the consortium and beyond consortium, we need to communicate this. This is why we put this alternative protein knowledge hub as the work package 2, looking into the stakeholders, looking at what other project is outside there relevant to this project. We will develop a protein watch, alternative protein watch, where we will monitor all the new entries, new information, new knowledge with different pre-reviewed articles or any type of reports, screen that, and then make it accessible to all of the consortium members as quick as possible. And the basic for this is also very much the whole food systems thinking approach. So we don't have much time, unfortunately, to go through with that, but we really have this holistic understanding of what the food system looks like and what's the important role of the protein diversification and specifically the novel proteins in this transformation. With work package 3, 4, and 5, as I mentioned, this multi-dimensional impact assessments with the LCA, social life cycle analysis, techno-economic assessments, the market analysis, health benefits, and nutritional considerations. We will cover all these aspects, and then the role of the farmers, opportunities for the farmers and aqua farmers will be covered in work package 5 as well. So all feed into this work package 6, where we will develop this system dynamics models and provide some integrated scenario impact assessments. Next slide, please. Of course, I mean, EPIC-Shift is not the only project which looks at this novel food production from different sources of proteins. There are many other out there. Here are some of the examples that we collaborate closely. But Horizon for Europe, it's a network of projects funded by Horizon Europe when it comes to the alternative proteins. We collaborate with them as well. And next, please. I think that's all from my side. And it's unfortunate that I will not stay longer for the workshop. Unfortunately, I'm traveling at the moment, if you hear some background noises as well. But I would be more than happy to answer or clarify things if there's any question or things that needs to be clarified. And I wish you a very fruitful and successful workshop. But as I said, I will stay a couple of minutes more in case if there are any urgent questions or so. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Dennis, for this wonderful presentation. I can say it's very complicated to show how a project works. You are the coordinator, of course, so you know very, very well, but it's anyway complicated to do it in 5 minutes. So you were in time, so many, many thanks. And now we are going to hear the voice from the Commission. In this case, we have decided to involve the DG Agri normally we think now we have to talk with the DG Sante for the novel food. Instead, we think that is really, really important also having the opinion and the ideas coming from the DG Agri, which is in charge anyway, of the food sector, really, the agriculture. So I give the floor now to Mr. El Fati uh, from Unity E4 of the Agri, and he introduces a presentation on novel food and CAP. You know that CAP is one of the most important part of the budget of the European budget. So novel foods and CAP pathways for integration. Mr. Fati, thank you, and the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Luigi and Floriana, for this opportunity. I hope you can hear me well. Indeed, I will cover some aspects so that we can kick off the meeting with all the speakers and participants. In Agri, we believe in facts. Worth noting that I'm working within E4, which is the unit covering the arable crops and olive oil, is the unit that works on the protein plan. So speaking of facts, we published in October last year several fact sheets that aim at taking stock of the use and the supply of protein in the EU. And I will present you now a couple of interesting data in the following slides. Next slide, please. Before diving into the data, I will have a word on the question that triggers the whole discussion here in Agri and all in Europe around the plant protein. Why is plant protein high on the agenda? Questions about protein, and in particular plant-based protein, have been high on the EU agenda for the last years, with the Parliament and the Council giving direction on numerous occasions through declarations, reports, resolutions, and even the Commission report that was published in 2018. On the next slide, you see here that the topic is connected to other key topics that concern the agriculture. This also explains why plant protein remains high on the agenda. It concerns the nitrogen leakage, of course, the dependency on the imported protein in the EU, the food security, the GSG emission from the livestock. On the next slide, you see the EU plant protein supply. When we talk about the protein diversification, it is interesting to know from where protein produced in the EU is coming from. Whatever they use, 46%, for instance, of plant protein comes from roughage, 9% is coming from the oil seeds, and only 2% from the dry pulses. The EU arable crop sector and grassland provides nearly 64 million tons of crude protein. When we talk about volume of crude protein, we refer here to the volume of protein contained in the crop, in the feed, or in the food. Roughage, in particular the grassland in the EU, is the main source of protein in the EU. It is followed by the cereals and the oil seeds. On the EU use, on the next slide, it is interesting to know how it is this protein used within the EU. The livestock sector is the biggest user of plant protein. 67% of the crude protein from crops produced and consumed in the EU is used as feed, and only 33% is immediately used as food or for industrial purposes, including here the pharmaceutical sector and the technical food ingredients. On the next slide, a few words on the feed use. This graph seems simpler, but in fact it is more difficult to explain. A little over half of the land used for the production of feed is arable land, including here the temporary grassland. And this area produces 71% of all food protein used as feed. To make it short, around 70% of the area to produce feed could be used to produce food directly. So you'll notice that most of the feed is not edible for human. See, for instance, grass, fodder maize, rapeseed meal, and even some type of cereals would not necessarily qualify as food for human, as the quality of harvested grains could be deteriorated by uncontrollable factors. However, the situation is not simple. Turning on the next slide, the food demand part. In 2021, the EU production mostly consumed protein coming from animal products. That's roughly 60%. Dairy products account for 24% of protein intake by humans, while pig meat, poultry meat, and bovine a smaller share. For plant-based protein, the main sources are cereals, with 24% of protein intake by humans, and the fruits and vegetables with additional 5%. On the next slide, few words on the import dependency. Reducing this dependency on imported protein sources is a strategic priority for food security, for environmental sustainability, and also economic resilience. This slide here outlines complementary pathways to achieve this goal. The increase in protein crops in the EU by supporting farmers, for instance, reducing price volatility through a more transparent market. The food demand part, the importance of protein in diet, while the feed part would cover an adaptation of the livestock system to a more efficient, to be more efficient and sustainable, and of course a shift towards locally sourced feed ingredients. And of course, there is the part of new alternative sources of protein that should be explored more, and we are still missing important data, and hence the importance of such projects at EPIC. On the next slide, a few words on what has been done so far. In the current CAP, the Common Agricultural Policy, member states have the possibility to implement a supportive policy framework for the development of the production of protein crops by offering coupled income support, setting up sectoral interventions, and also designing eco schemes or granting investment subsidies. Coupled income support, for instance, for legumes and protein crops is included in 20 CAP strategic plans, while the area is projected to increase from 4 million to 7 million hectares by 2027. On the next slide, this is the fact sheet on research and innovation, which offers an overview of the European Union research and innovation activities in the field of supply and demand of protein. Through the research programs like Horizon 2020, Horizon Europe, and the European Innovation Partnership, projects to develop competitive and sustainable farming systems, lots of food chains that participate to the reduction of the EU dependency on imported protein. There are still some important knowledge and research gaps as regard alternative protein sources. The outcomes of research projects should be used to foster more downstream innovation and the technological scale up, for instance. Also to incorporate the consumer's view into new product development and innovation processes to, of course, better respond to consumer needs. The European Commission invested in 14 projects related to alternative proteins under the Horizon 2020, with a nearly budget of 66 million euros. On the next slide, I will mention very briefly the market transparency that has been developed that covers a full monitoring of the markets, including here prices, trade, and crop production. And all this can be found on the European Commission website. Also, an external research consortium conducted a study on feeding strategies, which provides a comprehensive analysis of the factors guiding the choices of farmers and other actors in the chain, and options to support the EU production of protein feed, for instance. The feeding strategies reflect the diversity of EU crop and also the livestock sectors. On the next slide, you see the EU members' initiatives. Many member states' initiative focus on plant proteins, but also these initiatives take various forms. They target food and feed as well, but also supply and demand part. So the range of products covered includes from cereals to plant-based co-products, but also alternative proteins. For instance, there is included in these alternative proteins topics such as insects, algae, microorganisms, but also cultured meat. Turning on the next slide, I will not go through all the work streams on EU level, but I would mention the Commission's vision for agriculture and food that was published on 19th February 25. With this vision, the Commission commits to develop a comprehensive plan to address the challenges that protein supply faces in the EU. It will be based on a holistic approach. It will encompass the agri-food system, and it will also consider both the way protein is produced but also consumed. It will particularly also focus on fostering the domestic production to improve the self-sufficiency, to reduce this long-standing dependency on imported protein, and also on diversifying the import plant-based protein to increase the EU food security. On the next slide, you see here the link where we've uploaded all the work and the studies and the fact sheets that we've prepared for the last years. While in the next slide, you see the link to the studies on the feeding strategies, but also on closing the EU protein gaps. It's a joint research study that explore the potential synergies and trade-offs within food systems. Looking into 4 different scenarios that assume an increased protein crop production, changes in the feed ratio, altered livestock production systems, and a transition towards a more sustainable diet. And with this, I thank you. I conclude my presentation and looking forward to the exchanges you will have. I wish you a successful webinar. Thank you.
Many thanks, Mr. Fati, and it's very, very interesting this part that you showed us, because we saw how many efforts the Commission has taken, and which is the problem is not a real problem for food, but it's a problem for feed, which is related, of course, to the food, because you have to feed, and then you have the food. So it's really important. What I can understand that one of the fears that normally people have is that we will eat just in the future novel food and nothing more than was done by the agriculture. Is not true. Probably, as we have seen, we will have just an aid and help to reduce the imports from the other countries, so to maintain our food security from this novel food in general, use it for feed, and we will see it anyway at the end when we will use it in food. So many thanks. Now it's time for taking consideration the food safety of this novel food, which are novel. So the risk assessment in this case is more complicated because we don't have so many proofs. The proofs that is given by the industry that's made is proposing the new food. And so now it's time to talk with EFSA, with Dr. Hermolas Verberis of the unit Novel Foods Nutrition and Food Innovation. And so he's going to talk about the EFSA role in novel protein sources and the way how they manage the risk assessment. The floor is yours, Dr. Verberis, and many thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here. Greetings from Parma, in Italy. So I'm waiting for the slides to be displayed on the screen. Yes, thank you. So indeed, today we're going to see what is the role of the European Food Safety Authority in the field of novel protein sources. Next slide, please. So recently we have seen an increased interest in novel, new, or alternative proteins, and there are many reasons behind this interest. First of all, nowadays there are new technologies that allow us to reuse our sources in a different manner, to make use of different sources that we did not consider in the past for food production. There are also big drivers for innovation. There are considerations regarding the environmental sustainability of our current food systems, considerations regarding ethics and animal welfare. Also, there are considerations regarding our health and the current diets. And many of these these new type of products, they can have also promising nutrient profiles that could contribute potentially to healthy and sustainable diets. In the next slide, please, we will see, first of all, what is a novel food in the European Union, because not all alternative proteins and their sources are novel foods. To have something tagged as a novel food, there must be, let's say, two main considerations. First of all, it's about foods or food ingredients that have not been used for human consumption to a significant degree in the European Union before 15th of May of 1997. And as a second step, they must belong in at least one of the following categories that you can see on the screen. They can come from new production processes. They can be new with new or modified molecular structure. They can be derived from microorganisms, fungi, algae, from plants, from animals or their parts, from cell or tissue culture. They can be vitamins or minerals from new processes that contain nanomaterials. They can be of mineral origin. They can be engineered nanomaterials themselves, or a novel food can be something that before May of 1997 was exclusively used in food supplements. We have to remember that EFSA does not have the authority nor the responsibility to decide on the novel status of a product. This is the Commission and the member states, the risk managers in the EU, who decide on this type of novel status. On the next slide, we can see also which are the EFSA's missions and responsibilities in the novel food area. EFSA does not develop food safety policies and legislations. We do not adopt regulations. We do not authorize marketing of new products in the EU market, and also is not EFSA defining the label of these products. Also, is not EFSA enforcing food safety legislation. What we do is to provide independent scientific advice and support for the EU risk managers and policymakers on the safety. We're also here to develop and provide up-to-date guidance. Also, we're responsible to communicate independently and in a timely manner on risk associated with the food chain. And last but not least, where possible, we try to promote the scientific cooperation in the field of novel foods. On the next slide, you see a graph with different novel food applications that enter the EFSA's risk assessment since 2003. You can see that in 2018 there was a big increase of the novel food dossiers assessed by EFSA because we had a change in the regulation. Actually, in 2018 came into force the regulation of 2015, the new regulation on novel foods, that foresees that all the assessment of these products are carried out by the European Food Safety Authority. In the past, those assessments were carried out by the member states. Then the member states, in cases that they could not agree with them, would send these products for assessment to EFSA. And you can see that we have a very big diversity, very heterogeneous field. But among the dossiers that we always receive are about novel foods derived from plants or their parts, microorganisms, fungi, or algae, novel foods with new or identified molecular structure. And these figures that you can see in green are mainly about human identical milk oligosaccharides. And also we had received quite some dossiers on animal-derived novel foods, and this was about mainly insect-derived novel food products. On the next slide, we will see the novel food authorization procedure in the EU. No matter how much research is done, no matter how many indications that in literature in projects, if there is not an application dossier from the industry to the Commission, then this type of procedure does never start. So an applicant can submit a dossier to the European Commission according either to the novel food guidance or to the traditional food guidance. Traditional foods is a subset of novel foods, and it's about food products that have recorded and documented safe history of use somewhere else in the world of at least 25 years, and they don't follow an exact risk assessment. Practically for novel foods, we do a full risk assessment, but for traditional foods, we review the data together with the member states, and also we raise a flag if we see any safety concerns in the data received. So when the dossier is validated by the European Commission, meaning that when the minimum amount of data is there to start the risk assessment, then the Commission sends the dossier to EFSA and we start the assessment. For novel foods, we have a legal deadline of 9 months, and for traditional food, 4 months. For novel foods specifically, if we see that the data in the dossier, they have gaps, or if the evidence provided and the reasoning triggers the need for further studies, for the production of further evidence, or we need to clarify something with the applicant, we stop the clock and we go back to them to ask additional questions. And in this way, we enable the applicants to provide more data to substantiate potentially the safety of the novel food. And actually, we have a quite, let's say, high amount of positive novel food assessments. But to be honest, without this mechanism of going back to the applicant, this amount would be drastically lower because of the quality of the dossiers that we receive. So when the assessment is done, we publish the outcome of the assessment in the so-called scientific opinion. And then within 7 months after our publication, the European Commission has to send a draft implementing act to the PAF committee. It's the Standing Committee for Plants, Animals, Food and Feed. And in this committee, there are representatives from member states and the Commission, and then it is them who decide on the market authorization of these products. And when a product receives a positive market authorization, then it's integrated to the Union list of authorized novel foods. On the next slide, we see the 3 fundamental principles of the novel food risk assessment. First of all, we must remember that the novel food shall be safe under the proposed conditions of use. The novel food cannot be nutritionally disadvantageous, especially in cases that intends to replace something else that we already have in the market and in our diets. And also we must remember that under the regulatory novel food framework, we do not assess the efficacy of the novel food. We assess only the safety. On the next slide, you will see the contents basically of the updated EFSA novel food scientific guidance. And just to explain you what we ask from the applicants. So we need information on the identity of the novel food, how it's produced in a detailed manner, data on its composition, the specifications, information on any history of use of the novel food or its source. We need to know the proposed uses and use levels, and also the anticipated intake of the novel food, data on absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion, toxicological information, nutritional information, and last but not least, information on the allergenic potential of the novel food, and especially relevant when we talk about novel proteins and their sources. So the applicant, according to the guidance, can build a dossier, and in case that they think that something is not needed, some studies should not be provided, then they could provide instead a reasoning trying to argue why something is not needed. And then in this case, our experts, the working of novel foods, they assess the arguments of the applicant, and they can agree or then go back to them and ask for more studies. On the next slide of the presentation, you will see some examples of novel proteins and sources thereof that we have already assessed at EFSA. So we have assessed rapeseed powder, rapeseed protein isolates, a partially hydrolyzed protein from spent barley and rice, a byproduct of the beer industry, chia seeds and chia seed powder, water lentils. We have assessed several insect-derived novel foods like yellow mealworm whole dried in form or in powder form. We have assessed the hot crickets, again whole dried or powder, and also pea and rice protein fermented by Shiitake mycelia. Not all of them had a positive conclusion. For example, for water lentils, we had several applications from different applicants, and two of them were negative because, according to the production process of these applicants led to a product with very high manganese level, and the intake of this level was deemed to be of safety concern during the risk assessment. On the next slide, I have included some examples of novel protein sources thereof that are currently under risk assessment. So you can see on the slide we have products from filamentous fungi, we have microbial proteins, postbiotic proteins from bacteria, rapeseed protein fiber concentrates. We have more forms of insect-derived novel foods like spray-dried Aketa domesticus powder, defatted powder of black soldier fly, and also we have already started the assessment of the first cell culture derived food dossier of animal origin, that is a duck cell culture derived biomass. And of course, these are only some examples. So on the next slide, you can see different ways to stay connected with EFSA, to keep up to date with what we are doing here in-house and get notifications according to your interests and needs. And in the next slide, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I would be happy to answer to any questions you may have now. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Dr. Berberis. Very good and wonderful presentation. We can say that the risk assessment is the most advanced system for ensuring the food safety, in particular the EFSA risk assessment. But it's not perfect, we know, of course. This is why, anyway, the authorization is also a political matter, and it takes both risk and benefits into account. And so it's up to the Commission. And on this point, SAFE makes a lobby, of course, directly with the Commission to ensure at the end that consumers will be really protected and can eat a safe product. We know that the regulation on novel food is 10 years old. No, it's more than 10 years old. It entered in the legislation 10 years ago, but was done before. So that the research on novel food is increased and runs very fast. So sometimes the novel food, how we thought in this regulation, are in borderline. So that's why we have called Caroline Lerchener from the Federal Office of Consumer Protection and Food Safety of the Federal from Germany, which is an institution, of course, a national institution, and she will explain better if is it novel, and she's going to clarify product status. Thank you, Caroline, to be with us, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Yeah, hello. I hope you can hear me well. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks from EFSA from the risk assessment side. So now I would like to explain a little bit more how it works in Germany, and also what we are doing from the regulatory aspects from the BVL. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So I'm working for the Federal Office of Consumer Protection and Food Safety. So the BVL, we are founded in 2002 to separate the risk assessment from the risk management. And we support the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Regional Identity. Next slide, please. So in Germany, it's like this. We only have the German federal government. We also have 16 federal states, and which are really important in Germany also for the decision making. And they also have a lot of official expertise assessment, and they do the inspections of FBOs, so the food business operators sampling, and the food law enforcement, so which is really important in Germany. Next slide, please. So I'm working in the Department 1, so we are responsible for the control planning, for monitoring, for crisis management, food fraud, and also for novel foods. Next slide, please. So regarding novel foods, also next slide, please. So EFSA already explained really well why a novel food regulation, so to protect consumer health, to have a legal certainty in the European single market, and also to have a risk assessment before placing novel food on the market. And in the next two slides, I wanted to explain what novel food is, but EFSA explained it really well. So I think we can skip these slides. And one slide before, please. So in Germany, I go also a little bit back from the procedure, what EFSA explained. So if a FBO is not really sure if it's really novel food or is it not really novel food, you have the FBO have the opportunity to use the Article 4 of the novel food regulation. This means that he can start or she can start a consultation procedure. And what we are doing at the BVL, so the applicant sent a technical dossier to us, so with a description of the food, why he thinks it's novel or why he thinks it's not novel, with a history of consumption, so the characteristic profile of the food. And we check if this is a valid application or not. So if we get all the relevant information. So if we say, okay, yes, this application is valid, then we ask the member states for their opinion, or if they have a history of consumption in their member states. And I think this is a little bit different from other member states. We also have to consult our 16 federal states. They have to say, okay, yes, we know that it's novel food or it's not novel food, or we think it's novel food. And then we combine all the answers from the member states and from the federal states and also from the Commission, of course. And we decide, okay, it's novel food or not novel food. For this, we have 4 months. If we don't have all the information, or now we see, oh, okay, we need more information from the applicant, then we have 4 months, but really with a good reason to extend the deadline. And so we get the result, or we decide if it's novel food or not, and then we send it to the member states, to the Commission, and the Commission can publish the result on their website. So this is what we do in Germany, and I think that's a good opportunity for FBOs to see or to start with this consultation procedure if they are not sure. And then if they see, or if we decide, yes, it's novel food, then they can start with the, I say, normal procedure with the application, which EFSA explained in the previous presentation. So thanks a lot. Next slide. And if you have any questions, just you can ask me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Caroline. You have pointed out really another thing that is very important to know as consumers in general, that there is not just the EFSA that is doing something on food safety and risk assessment, but there are also the national authorities that are doing the same thing. So there is I can say a double control sometimes in the procedure to assure better the safety of these products. So it's a very complicated process. Sometimes I hear from the industry that for them is too long, but we think that we are talking about something that is novel. So we need to be really sure before using that. And the part of the national institution is really very important to have. This is something that anyway the consumers organizations really doesn't know very well, and that we have anyway to spread to the consumers better when we talk about the novel food, or anyway the risk assessment process in Europe. Now it's time for for another DG, the RTD, in this case, Unit B2, Bioeconomy and Food System, Mr. Giuseppina Luvarà. We are talking about an Horizon project, and so we are going now to talk about the Food 2030 alternative projects on Horizon Europe. And so how it's going, and how the perspective in the future for the alternative proteins. So, Ms. Giuseppina Luvarà, the floor is yours, and many thanks to be with us today.
Thank you very much. Will you, voila, you show me that. So thank you very much. Thank you to Safe Food Advocacy Europe for the invitation, and in particular to Denise as a project coordinator of the EPIC Shift, because it's indeed the project that has been promoted and funded under Horizon Europe, the class 6 of Horizon Europe. I just indeed the next slide, please. I want a little bit to introduce you the Food 2030. I am responsible in RTD of a unit Bioeconomy and Food System, and in particular I'm responsible on the Food 2030, on alternative protein and the healthy diet and nutrition pathways. The Food 2030, which is a little bit what already Denise mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, where indeed all the projects are funded under Class 6, define the research and innovation policy framework that really concern food system. And what is food system? That just also Denise introduced. It's a little bit to consider all the systemic approach, which goes from the production, the processing, the packaging, logistic, distribution, healthy people, and the waste stream. This is an important thing when we refer to food system. What we are doing in a research innovation framework is really to funding a research project, but also to look at the innovation part, which really is a sort of pre-scaling up of research innovation results. The priority of the Food 2030 are indeed the nutrition. So we are focusing on sustainable and healthy diets, the part of the climate, where we need also that all the food system really respect the sustainable principle for a smart and environment sustainability, the circularity, which is really we need also to look at the resource efficiency of food system, so for example from the waste stream, and the part of the innovation. And then we have a different drivers, which is research, which is innovation, but also what is very important is the international collaboration. Denise also said the multi-actor approach and the involvement of international partner, and this is indeed what are really meeting also the driver of the Food 2030. Next slide, please. In the Food 2030 pathways, we have 11 pathways, and alternative protein for dietary shift is the pathway 4. So it's in that pathway that usually we launch the project and we write, let's say, the project and launch the call for proposal under this pathway. Next slide, please. But what are alternative protein? And I like the definition also that Denise gave at the beginning, because the project exactly target the definition of alternative protein under the Food 2030. So it's not only plant-based, it's also fungi, it's microbes, meat from cell culture, insect, algae. And indeed, the novel food are based on alternative protein sources, but not all the alternative proteins are novel food, as my colleague indeed they said before. So we are fully aligned with that concept. But the challenge is that really alternative proteins they have today, and where really are important and where we need a little to support, also project on alternative proteins, is of course the greenhouse gas emissions. The part related also to the food safety and allergenicity. The part of the food security and malnutrition. Food security was also an aspect that my colleague in DG Agri also highlighted in his presentation. But also the challenges are the price, because the price are very, very high. The taste sometimes is not exactly the same as the traditional food, so there is a lot of research also looking at the taste. The part of the product availability, because sometimes the product go to the market, but not only all the member states give an easy accessibility to these products. And of course, other challenges, the consumer choice. Today, still, we are facing a challenge which consumer, sometimes they have difficulties to accept the consumption of alternative proteins. But there are a lot of opportunity on this on alternative proteins, and the opportunity is really when we look on how we need to get a food supply and a food system more resilient in the future. Some alternative protein also they apport a nutritional important value to our food, and then also nutritional value that also is important for the prevention of specific diseases. The reduction on dependence on protein import, as my colleague in DG Agri also highlighted in his presentation. And of course, it's something very, very important, which is also the opportunity for new business, but also new jobs. Next slide, please. Now, the context, we are in the Food 2030 policy framework or research innovation framework, as you want really to refer to it. But also when we fund project on alternative proteins, we are also under several European policy initiatives. So the CAP, the Common Fisheries Policy, when we refer to algae, for example, the Life Science Strategy, which has been recently adopted, and the Vision Agriculture and Food, the Regulation Novel Food or Food from GMO, the communication on biomanufacturing and biotechnology that has been adopted last year, very, very important, that really will drive the future on biotechnology for food, in particular, but not only on food, also on feed and other applications. The animal welfare and many others, policy that really are in environmental health. So the context where really we found a project on alternative proteins is really an holistic context, which really take into consideration all the European policies, those that were already ongoing because we were under the previous MFF, but those that also the multi-financial framework of the Commission, but also those that really have been recently adopted, like the Life Science Strategy, the Vision of Agriculture and Food, and the Biotechnology Communication. Next slide, please. So now you got from our colleague in DG Agri some of the budget implication and projects that have been indeed invested in plant-based proteins. Here I want a little to give a more general overview for all the projects that we funded under Horizon 2020, Horizon Europe, which really cover not only the plant-based proteins. In most of these projects, Epic Shift is one of the examples, but the other, they don't really only focus in one source of alternative proteins, which can be the insect protein, for example. But usually in that project, they really look at different protein sources. So this is something that needs, and then we have already several projects that we have a next-gen protein, ProFuture, Smart Protein, Sushi Chain, Giant Leaps, like a Pro, Feast, Plantomic, Improve, Sustainability, Epic Shift. I want to mention all of them because really they are really important. Some of them are already finished, others are ongoing. So this is something, so they will, the result we will have maybe in 2026, 2027. What is important is that the result of this project are not only important for the policymaker, but are important also for the project coordinators, because some of these project coordinators, they also created this important network of Horizon for Protein, which was launched at the end of 2021, which are going really to continue the activity, despite the fact that the project end under the funding, let's say, timeline, this project continue to work, and indeed they touch one of the policy relevant aspects, like the consumer acceptance, the safety and regulatory challenges, and the part of the sustainability of the novel food or the alternative proteins. Together with this project under Horizon Europe, I want also to make a link to another important Horizon Europe work program, which is the European Innovation Council thematic portfolio, where indeed we also invest on projects which look more, let's say, is more investment project for small medium enterprises. So we are already in a scaling of the TRL a little bit higher than those that you have in the classes 6. And for example, in the Work Program 2025, we have a project on precision fermentation algae, where indeed the challenge proposal was around over 50 million on protein, fat, and others. And where indeed also in that portfolio, we have an open call for more than 100 million on protein. Next slide, please. So now we are in the Work Program 2025 Horizon Europe has been adopted, as you know, and we launch also the open call. So this is something that indeed is also good. I always attracted the attention to the open call that has also related to alternative proteins, where indeed the proposal, the open date is the 60th of May, and we have a deadline for submission proposal of 16 September 2025. These two calls are more under the chapeau, let's say, or the chapter of the biotechnology communications that indeed was adopted last March, but indeed focus on some of the most important challenges that really are focusing also on alternative proteins, like the citizen awareness, or how we are going really to look at new technology processing to produce alternative protein, like it can be the second topic. Next slide, please. Now, of course, Food 2030 was already started in occasion of the 2015 the Milan World Expo. Now it's more than 10 years. And indeed, what we have done is to call a pool of independent experts that they've been tasked to evaluate our Food 2030, in particular all the output, all the impact, and also on thanks to the help also the project coordinator on projects that were already ended and for which they really gave a very good support in such evaluation. Next slide. As a result of this evaluation, we recently published, this is a very, very fresh, report. You have the QR code, but you have also the link. This evaluation of the food 2030. And really, I invite you also to look at the part of alternative protein and this assessment that has been done through, indeed, all the projects that we funded under the alternative protein pathway. Next slide. This is a little bit the slide that I want also kindly my colleague from REA, the Research Executive Agency, Goran Kumaric, which is the project officer dealing with alternative proteins. He also suggests me to recall in particular today. So there is this sharing scientific evidence with policymakers, which is important for the project coordinator to know, because in most of the recommendation, but also in their work packages, they refer to recommendation to the European policy. So this is very important, how to drive the coordinator in providing also policy recommendation to the Commission. And next slides. Also, usually when we have the proposal, you know that the proposal goes through an evaluation, and it's very important also to feed always the expertise pool in this domain. So please also contact REA, that is looking also for Horizon Europe expert, which sometimes are underrepresented in the field and in the country. So this is also an important message that we want a little bit also to use this opportunity today, how it is also important to have a very good expert in the domain. And finally, to conclude, I have the last slide, which is the stakeholder list for the Food 2030, which usually we update continuously. So if you are not indeed in this list, and please consider also to add your name in the stakeholder list for the Food 2030 to receive all the regular update on this on the research innovation framework of Food 2030. Thank you for your attention.
Many thanks, Mr. Luvara. Very good presentation. We have seen how the needs of Europe coming from the geography. We have seen Santé, the consumers, in the industry are translating research, and by the Commission putting a lot of money with this Horizon project, and this is very important to communicate to the consumer. As safe, we are in 4 of this Horizon project, and this is one of course of our aims to do with the consumers. So on our food in general, we put inside also, even if it was not mentioned because it's not in the pathway, also the project on the algae. And now, last but not least, Federica De Maria, Dottoressa Federica De Maria from CREA, which is the Consiglio della Ricerca e dell'Agricoltura e dell'Analisi Economica Agraria of Italy. Italy is another institution, a very important research institution in Italy, and she's going to present a survey that was made in Italy on the future perspective in the European market. So a survey to the consumers to understand which is the knowledge about the novel food, the perspective, the fears or the opportunities that they can feel. So Mr. De Maria, the floor is yours, and thank you for your participation.
Good morning, everyone. So thank you for this opportunity and to present a piece of work focusing on the consumer's perception of sustainable food concept. Next slide, please. So food system have environmental impacts along the whole supply chain from production to processing and retail, and it is responsible for about a quarter of global GHG emission, and the agriculture sector alone account for over 60 percentage point of that. As we will know, animal farming gives particularly extremely resources intensive, requiring land use, water and energy, and its environmental impact is significantly higher than that of plant-based alternative. So as we look ahead, it's clear that one of the most effective way to reduce environmental pressure is through a dietary shift toward more sustainable food. And this is where alternative proteins come in. Next slide, please. So as a research center, we asked ourselves at the beginning, how much do consumers really know about sustainable food? And more importantly, are the consumers willing to change their behavior and embrace more sustainable food, in particular plant-based option? So to explore this topic, we surveyed 548 Italian consumers, focusing on the awareness, preferences, and readiness to adopt more sustainable food choices, including alternative proteins. The survey was conducted by the Opinion Agency, utilizing a computer-assisted web interviewing methodology, and the sample followed the national distribution in terms of age, and gender and regional location, based on the 2022 census data provided by the Italian National Institute of Statistics. So the questionnaire basically was divided in three sections. The first one considered the consumer perception of sustainable food and healthy food. The second one related to the shift, the changing in habits, and if the eating habits may have some effects on the environment. And finally, the third section was related to the willingness of respondents to direct their food consumption towards more sustainable option. The main idea of this study is understanding what are the main factors driving consumers toward more sustainable food. Next slide, please. In order to do so, we construct two main indicators. The first one is the sustainability index, which captures the consumer propensity towards sustainable behavior. And this indicator is essentially based on the statement reported in the table on the left side. We assign a score according to respondent answer, and then aggregate this into an overall indicator score equal to 1, which indicate low propensity in terms of switching towards more sustainable food, positive propensity, and strong propensity. Next slide, please. The other indicator is SOSFAM, which is an indicator able to capture the respondents' familiarity with the concept of sustainability. It ranges between -1 and +5, where -1 indicates a very low or incorrect understanding of food sustainability, and 5 reflects a high value of accurate knowledge about sustainability food. And this scale allow us to assess how well consumers understand the key element of sustainability, which significantly influences their food choice and behavior. Next slide, please. I present some descriptive statistic on the main drivers of consumers' behavior. So when asked what comes to consumer minds when they think about sustainable food, results suggest that the most of respondents associate sustainable food with low environmental impact. 45% point identify sustainable food as organic, and only 23.7% point consider a fair income for farmers as an important attribute for sustainable food. Next slide, please. So, as you can see from the graph, more respondents have only an intermediate understanding of the sustainability. About 72% point fall into intermediate familiarity group, meaning that they are able to recognize some aspect, but in any case, they lack in a deeper and comprehensive understanding of the food sustainability concept. And just a small proportion of respondents as awareness. And next slide, please. No, the previous one. Yes, thank you. When we ask consumers whether their habits in some way impact the environment, almost 60% point acknowledge these effects. And it is interesting to know how this topic is particularly relevant for women. Next slide, please. So this slide shows how consumers are willing to support anti-waste measures. About 85% point of respondents are willing to, and only 60% are willing to pay more for plant-based product, and more or less 55% point for sustainable food. What is emerged, the other information emerging from this slide is that a significant share of respondents have no opinion, and likely reflecting, as previously said, a lack of knowledge, confusion, or indifference to the concept of sustainable food. And while the other relevant information is that 60% point are willing to pay for more healthy food, with few respondents expressive negative view. And this suggests that consumers may be motivated by egoistic value, or for example, personal health, or by, for example, the price. This is perceived as a barrier to change, to shift their diet behavior, and then by altruistic values like environmental. Next slide, please. Please go ahead, because there are some animation. Okay. Finally, before presenting the result of our regression analysis, I just want to put emphasis in this important question. When we asked consumers whether they intend to reduce their meat consumption, 47% say no, for no reason at all, while only 50% are considering it, and about 20% would do so for environmental or health health reason. And it is interesting to note that those who would reduce meat consumption are predominantly women, whereas among those who would not reduce is the majority is men. And finally, in the graph below, when asked if they are willing to eat more plant-based products, 60% percentage of women say they are, while 22 are indifferent, and only 9 percentage points would not be the willing. So the behavior of men is quite more similar. Furthermore, the other relevant information is that men under 40 would so mainly for environmental reason, while among those over 40, it is women who would make this change mainly for health reason. Next slide, please. In order to understand what are the main drivers towards more sustainable food, we run a multinomial logistic regression in which compare two kinds of groups. Sustainable, low people reporting a positive index with a low sustainable index, and people reporting a very strong and higher index in comparison to the lower one. So in comparing who reports a positive sustainable indicator with those who have a low sustainable indicator, we found that familiarity with the sustainability index, taking into account the familiarity with the concept of sustainable food has a positive effect in both groups. This means that the higher the familiarity with the concept of sustainability, the more individuals adopt sustainable behavior. And the education, the level of education is also an important and relevant variable. Indeed, the higher the education level, the stronger the sustainability index, underline the relevance of the knowledge in this topic. Income per capita, indeed, surprising, turn out a not significant variable, and we find also, as emerged by the previous slide, the gender is really relevant variable, and highlight the higher sensitivity of women towards this topic. And what was unexpected is the geographical area for the central region of Italy. Indeed, the respondents from the center of Italy seems to be more sustainable than the one from the north and the south. And it could be because they are willing to buy from the local producers in place of the GDO distribution. Next slide, please. Further perspective for the alternative protein markets in Europe require a range of actions, including, for example, better consumer education. Particularly, we think about training that targets younger people, as they appear to be more sensitive to sustainable topics. Additionally, it's important to provide affordable option to make sustainable protein accessible to everyone, and it's important to set clear communication on sustainability to align public perception with scientific evidence, and also the the innovation, as previously mentioned by the European Commission, is really important. These combined efforts will be essential to drive growth and consumer acceptance in the next year. Next slide, please. So what are the main conclusions? Italian consumers reports a lack of familiarity with the concept of sustainability food, and this is still very common. And it's important to try to fill the gap in terms of knowledge, because knowledge is a key driver of change toward more sustainable behavior. And of course, sustainability friendly everyday behavior can have a great impact on our level of sustainability. In the next slide, I want just to emphasize the limitation maybe of our study, because it is an Italian perspective. So maybe enlarging the view, some different paths could emerge. And one limitation is of this study, we didn't consider the emerging technology like fermentation-based protein and novel foods, and the need to address health, food safety, and risk perception in more details, and also try and try to look at social and cultural barriers. And that's all from my side. Thank you for your attention.
Many thanks, Teresa De Maria. I can say that there are 2 points that I pointed out. One is that should be a very clear sustainable communication, which is one of the lack that we see around Europe, and sometimes the new parliament is not really answering to that. We see what's happening with the Green Clean Directive, for example, which should be instead one of the way, of course, not the best, but it's one of the way to make more clear communication on sustainability. And it's not a lack for me that this is the Italian perspective, because Italy, I'm Italian as you, of course, has a very strong culture on food. So when we are talking about something that is novel, it's very difficult to enter in this kind of market. And we say always that when Italians stay together to eat together, they always talk about food. Nothing about it is now. Sometimes also from football, but anyway. So many thanks, many thanks for your presentation. Now it's time for the civil society voices. I think that we have given to you a lot of information, very important information. Also, I think we went in deep in the non-food in general, not only, and related, of course, to our project Epic Sheet. And now it's time to hear the voices. So we start with the roundtable on the acceptance, accessibility, and equity in the protein translation in European and macro areas. As I said before, we have divided 4 areas, so the Balkans, Mediterranean, Scandinavia, and Eastern Europe. For the Balkans, we have the consumers organization of Croatia, Mistania Popovic, Filipovic. About the Mediterranean, the Greek the consumers organization, we have Miss Anastasia Charlipopoulou. for the Scandinavian, we have the Veterinarian Society of Denmark, and is Louise Johansen today with us. And for the Eastern Europe, from Bulgaria, Andrei Belchuk is the Association for Affordable and Quality Food, is another consumers organization. So, welcome to all of you. Many thanks to be with us. I can start with the first question. I make this question and then I give to the floor first to Tanya, then to Anastasia, then to Luisa at the end, to Andrei to answer. And the question is about the definition of novel food. How do you feel when you say you? I mean, of course, consumers in your country. How do you feel a novel food? How do you define a novel food? Is clear what is a novel food? And so, first of all, we have to decide to understand really what the consumers means when they are eating and talking about novel foods. Is it clear that is present in the food essential as ingredient? So, what is a novel food in your country? Tanya, the floor is yours.
Audio.
Tanya, you're muted, I think.
Sorry. Hello. Thank you. First, say hello to all participants. I listen all the very interesting presentation and conclusions, and I would just like to separate this definition of new food and two parts or two groups of consumers in Croatia. First group of consumers is feeling fear, something is new, something is different. And the second group of the consumers, it is great, it is something new, it is very trendy, and it is very important to eat it, to post it without reading ingredients, declaration, etc. Just to be in. We are seeing it in Croatia in the last few years. Everything is it trendy? We eat it, we consume it, but we are not especially educated when we are talking about some novel food or etc. And just to say one more thing, when I was listening this presentation, it is very important when we talk, and here are the members of EFSA, etc. How we will do how authorities on food safety will work on this subject in members' country, because we here in Croatia and in other parts of Balkan, we don't have enough staff to follow up food safety in Balkan. And I would like to highlight this because it is very, very important thing. Thank you for now.
Thanks, Tanya. It's something that I never know, so this is very, very important for to say and to highlight. And so now the same question is for Anastasia from EKE.
Hello to everyone. First of all, thank you for inviting us to this important event. I listened to all the speakers very carefully, very fruitful, informative event. I will speak about our definition as a consumer union and just a few words for the attitude of Greek consumers as we understand it from our experience with them. For the attitude of Greek, consumers, and I suppose maybe for the attitude of European consumers, Italian, as Luigi mentioned, the acceptance of novel food remains limited. And the main reasons are the cultural prejudices that associate novel foods and especially insects with something inedible, lack of information about the existence and benefits of those foods, distrust regarding their safety and nutritional value. Probably younger generations will show a greater willingness to try alternative protein sources, especially in the context of sustainable nutrition. So, as far as it concerns the definition, we could define novel food as foods that are produced through new technologies, as I understand from what I heard, or include ingredients that consumers are not aware of or not used to consuming until now. Those foods come from unconventional sources, cultured meat, algae, or insects, or other ingredients. Proteins and fats are produced technologically. We could also define them as foods that are consumed in other regions of the world, but not in our region. We are not familiar with that. Novel food is not only a new product, but also is related to the methods, as I saw, or of productions, the potential impacts on health and environment, and the level of processing. The speakers, all the speakers from the project, but important presentations from European Commission's representatives made me think that the definition is something like that. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Anastasia. Yes, what you say is a really important. And then, so I give now the floor to Luis Johansen. Of course, one of the brief part of the novel food are plant-based. So, how is the perspective, the launch of the question I had done in the perspective of for the vegetarians? So people really have decided to use this novel food in the plant-based products.
Yes, thank you so much for the invitation. So yes, we are not a consumer organization per se, but we of course representing especially vegetarians, vegans, and flexitarians, focusing on more green foods. So if we kind of look to novel foods, as we had presented here in this webinar, it kind of entails a lot of different foods. So, but if we look for plant-based foods, we know especially from consumer surveys that there are consumers who are eating more green meals would really like to see more like whole food raw materials, which is kind of legumes inside their products as well. And they would of course also like to see them more mildly processed. That's also why there is a high focus in wanting to see more organic products coming in. And there is also a focus on having as healthy products as possible, also with a high focus on fibers as well also. But also when it comes to more, if I have to like more plant-based foods as well, also it's also like the greener or the more meals that you have that are vegetarians and vegans, you are also more inclined to use more different type of processed plant-based food, which could be fermented products as well also, and also mildly processed food as well, also for it could be veggie burgers or veggie balls and something like this as well also. But really a lot of consumers would really, or green consumers would really like to see that you really use whole raw ingredients in your products as well also. So that could also be a way forward as well. So keeping really healthy and nutritional focus, which is also often is combined with having organic products as well. Also, they will often be more mildly processed and also have less additives. Thank you.
Many thanks, Luis. You have mentioned a lot of the organic. This is another problem, of course, because our food now is not organic. It doesn't enter in the regulation. So this is something that we have to think also to regulate, of course, in the future. And so it's something that is very important to discuss. But it's real that. People is looking for the organic fiber and those things, and is a part of the novel food to shift that is really very important. Something that's done for the insect, which are not food, so it's possible to do for the other in the future. Also for algae, of course, yes, is the organic algae. Last but not least, you're the only man in this consensus. So Andrei from Bulgaria, the floor is yours.
Do you hear me?
Yeah,
Great
yes.
to all the participants today. Thanks for the invitation. I was listening with big interest. It was very interesting presentations from all of you today. Thank you for the opportunity. So I'll divide the answer into two parts. The first part, of course, is the people who lived before the 90s in Bulgaria and before Bulgaria became part of the European Union. And the other part of the answer is the people who are really not very new to the topic. I mean, all the people I can say as a teacher in a university, the very younger people, not more than 20, 22 years. For them, the novel foods are not so new, but the basic problem with the two parts of the people living in Bulgaria is the regulation and how Bulgarian authorities will take care of the food quality of the novel foods, because in Bulgaria, producement of any kind of bees, I mean, we have some new novel factories in Bulgaria located near the capital, Sofia. But as I can say, they are very expensive for the Bulgarians, the novel foods. Not so new. Most of the Bulgarians who can pay for the bigger price are taking it because the novel foods are coming mainly from Europe, which means a better quality and which means better prevention and better control of the EFSA and all the European members. So as I can see that we are very prepared, but we are running out of stuff, like the colleagues before me said. So the major problem is not the novel foods, but how we will take care of their quality and how we will take care of it. So I mainly prefer to speak as a consumer organization. We really appreciate all the things SAFE are making. So come to Bulgaria, visit us, and let's make some campaign for the novel food so they can be better. The Bulgarians will be better prepared, especially in a day like today, because as you may know, today is a very important day for Bulgaria because you're about to be the 21st European country being part of the Euro system. So thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the previous speakers.
Thank you, Andrei. It's always important to have the perspective from the east part of Europe. Sometimes we think also about our size, but it's really important because anyway you are always be in the history, in the borderline, so you have influences from the west part, but also from the other part of the east part, which are sometimes a different social culture, of course. Now the second question is we are going just more in deep The roundtable be the same in this case. So first Balkans, first Tanya, and the other. So what are the opportunities, the challenges or concerns do novel food presents for consumers in general? You have said something in the first answer, but I would like to go more in deep. So we are talking about the opportunities. If consumers find some opportunities, and the fears, the problem, and so the challenges for the consumers. In this case, when we talk about novel food, remember novel food are also insects, algae, and not only cultivated. So Tanya, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say before we start with challenges with novel food, we need to fix our market with the all food, because we now have a market who is full with non-safety food. I already said to my first answer, and second situation that we are had problem with inflation, with euro, etc. And our colleague Andre said a great thing. It is economic situation that is the main challenge before we talk about novel food in the countries of Balkan, because for people it's more important to eat any food than to buy, especially for older people. And when we are talking about challenges with novel food, it's a great opportunity to highlight that it's very important, again, educate consumers to start with one strong campaign, and to educate another hand, also traders, also manufacturers, because without them, with all stakeholders, we wouldn't have some strong story in countries of Balkan. First of all, it is specific situation in Balkan with all the existing problems, and as you said, Luigi, we are also very familiar about traditional food, and then when you speak with some people about some novel food, it is like, what are you doing? Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. You're right. And about the inflation, you have just entered in the euro area, and you see that will increase. We have passed more than 20 years ago. How much increase? So you have another problem for the first years. When we talk about food and everything, we talk about the life. Okay, now it's time for Anastasia.
Yes. I will start with opportunities. First of all, novel food give choices. As we already said, choices to consumers, and may offer new dietary options, especially for vegetarians, vegans, or those with specific problems or interests. Second, novel foods they claim that they have a positive impact on health and nutrition. They designed to improve nutrition. And of course, they have a positive impact on sustainability. It is claimed that they are environmentally friendly, but on land, water, animals. But it is very important for consumers, all these claims to be verified or certified with somehow. Last but not least, the impact of food security, as new foods can feed growing population. Food security due to population growth and climate crisis is a major factor that we have to take into consideration. Regarding concerns and challenges, although novel foods are gaining ground, there are concerns. First, for allergies. People who are allergic to some ingredients may experience allergic reactions. psychological barriers. Many consumers find it difficult to accept the consumption of algae, for example, due to cultural traditions and food safety. We know that EU has established strict regulation to ensure the quality and safety of these products, but we are not sure, we don't know the long-term effects on health or the real benefits or environment. These things has to be clarified, and we as consumer association inform, raise consumer awareness, train the consumers, and especially young children, to get informed for novel foods and have more choices on food. Thank you.
Anastasia, I love the Greece, you know, very well, and your way to think always in positive, because the Greek part of the Greek philosophy. So I love it so much. Yes, you're right. You know, there's a problem with the allergies, with the future. And this is something that is up to the Commission when it's going to authorize. The Commission has the instruments to controlling the market, for example, make other after the authorization, make other controls around the, and so it's important. It's something that they don't have it done with the insect, for example. But okay, let's go on now. It's time for Luis. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would just say from both Tanya saying like especially price is a consumer thing, something to be concerned about, and definitely Anastasia, all the beautiful points that you made also for the consumer, the challenges and the opportunity. I would also like to raise the awareness that also even for, we know for many different consumer surveys also, or representative surveys, that a lot of citizens across also Scandinavian but also Europe would like to have like a more healthy and sustainable diets as well also. So it would also be like novel food would also be a possibility for all those consumers. It's not an either or, it's a both and. So it's not like a complete shift either for vegetarian, vegan, but just having more options also that could be more healthy and also more sustainable as well also. And I would also like to say, like, even though it's very important also to inform consumer, I think also food environments plays a really important role, also how we kind of design the supermarkets, also what are the options also becoming public and private canteens as well, that it also plays a huge role in what we as a consumer would have. So they also play an important role to how do they kind of introduce these type of novel foods as well also. And if just we make sure that their safety is there also for these type of products, perhaps it's not always such an advantage actually to inform too much, because people are being concerned or skeptic, but it would be something that we really ensure the food safety also for authorities, but also kind of showcase through chefs and other kitchen professionals what these types of food can do and how they can help you have like a healthy and sustainable diet. Thank you.
Many thanks, Luis. Now, Andrei, the floor is yours.
Thank you once again. I was listening with interest what are the major, let's say, difficulties the other countries have. So the first big problem in Bulgaria is the complicated approval process. Sometimes it takes more than 4 to 6 months a novel food to be approved for the Bulgarian market. So the little companies in Bulgaria have a lack of resources to wait that much, and sometimes they just quit doing their novel food work, and they started without the scientific work, and they are just quitting making novel foods and dealing with the old kind of foods. So the other problem is lack of consumer awareness. Many Bulgarian consumers are not familiar with the actual novel foods. I mean, all kind of protein involved in new new foods like even in yogurt in Bulgaria, which is more and more modern. So they have low demand because the major small market in Bulgaria, I mean, the smaller supermarkets don't have place to put the novel foods like it is in the EU regulation. So just they don't have place for the novel foods, especially when they have problem with the big players like Kaufland, Lidl, Metro, and so on. So this big problem for the little countries in Bulgaria. I mean, not only Sofia as a capital, the other big cities have the same problem. And of course, the novel foods are with very high cost than the other. So important fee, specific labeling and marketing costs are a big problem for the smaller fish in the Bulgarian market. And retail resistance, big retailers may hesitate to stock novel food due to low demand or consumer, let's say, skepticism. And local market size, as already said, is a big problem. So local players have fewer scaling opportunities measured with the bigger companies, which are trying everything they could to sell more and more expensive foods to the Bulgarian consumers, which is a problem because, as I can see, novel foods are getting stuck with the myths about them, and this is because of the lower opportunities to make awareness and campaigns which will cost less than the products we will have in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrei. Yeah, many thanks. And now the last, yes, you have mentioned that the supermarket has now a specific place to sell. This is something that it's important, of course. Maybe it's difficult to explain to what is a novel now for the to the consumer. So make a campaign for the retailers in this case to sell the product. Now the last question is going more in deep. We are talking about the labeling now. Of course, this is something that is new. The labeling, in this case, for the European rules, put the novel food in the list of ingredients. So in the back of the labeling of the package. Sorry. But in your opinion, what are the key expectation or needs regarding the labeling of these products to make maybe a more clear information, giving the opportunity really to have the knowledge to make decide to buy this product. So let's start again from Tanya.
Okay. When we are talking about labeling, not only for novel food but all food, we see situation that it is not easy to read labels. You know why? Because I think that it is time to European Commission think about some letters. They are minimal. I don't know how, because if consumer is like reading it without glasses or something, we can see it. Another thing is I would use some words as easy reading of labels. We saw a situation with dates, use by and best by, and we have like some questionnaire where the European don't understand, especially what are these dates means, etc. I think we need to be clear when we are talking about label, and to be like larger. Maybe it's now when we are talking about a larger declaration. Why? Because we see some products, especially, I don't know what is the situation in other countries, but when we saw some labels, we can see it with glasses, without glasses, etc. And I think it is leading to misleading advertising and packaging. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the difficulties to read a label in Europe is well known by all the consumers organizations, but all the consumers in general. Anastasia.
First of all, I agree with Tanya for the font size. It is very important to have to have readability standards, let's say, just to know how we can read the ingredients. I will not refer to general ingredients for the food, but I will focus only on novel foods. So, as in all food, we need a simple language also in novel foods, which is something new. Let's say, not only font size, but also a simple language. First of all, we need clear identification. Label should state that the product is a novel food. Consumer should know this. Second, we need to know how it was produced, the production method. It should describe if the product, sorry, but I have a message from Zoom. I don't know, just, is everything okay with the volume? Okay, thank you. So it should be clearly described if the product is lab grown or using microorganisms, as it mentioned, or contain synthetic ingredients, everything. The consumer should know what the food is, what he's going to consume. And of course, we need a very clear information regarding safety and allergen information. That means that we need transparent listing of potential allergens or new proteins. And the label should inform of any precautionary advice based on safety assessment. I think, and last one, sustainability, which is claimed, must be, I have to repeat it, evidence-based and verifiable. Also this, because in this way, when everything is clear, the consumer will trust the new product and will have the choice to consume it or not. But first, we need to trust the product. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anastasia. And now, Luis.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, it's so I would also agree with Anastasia, and also for the ingredients list to be able to read it, but also, of course, the labeling should be quite easy to read and understand. And I think also with all of these novel food, it would also perhaps be a help to consumer to know how you actually are going to use them for your, if you would like to use them in your daily food. And I think also still it's a lot of things that we put on the consumer. I really think when you take like new products into the supermarkets, then it should be like it's already safe and means a safe choice. It's not like the consumers are, even before it enters into the supermarket, there should have been all the necessary concern have been taken for security measures as well, because for us as a consumer, it's too many choices to make. So that should be really accessible already for entering into the supermarket, all of these things, that it's a safe choice as well. So it have all the food securities already, and of course being stated for allergies as well. But for us as consumers to kind of change our dietary habits, we are very hesitant toward it. So we have to really, so all these novelties have to be a clear labeling, but also like a being really instructive in how to use them. And as you said, also for Anastasia, also the climate impact also, because a lot of consumers also kind of focus towards nutritional health, and also of course it could be also animal welfare, and it could also be climate and environment as well. So also these possibility to guide the consumers in their preferences toward this as well also. But I really think a lot of things should have been done before everything enters into the supermarket, so it is safe products that is coming into the supermarket. So the consumer just need to kind of say like, are we using this product for health, climate, or animal welfare? Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. And last but not least, Andrei.
So I will just add some things from the Bulgarian perspective. First of all, consumer problems. The first problem is that during the several months, we will have a problem with the bulk prices, not only in the Bulgarian lef, but in euro. Even though a lot of Bulgarian medias, our association also made a lot of campaigns about giving advices how to read the label, we still have a big problem with the label which don't clearly explain what product contains a novel food and what actually is the novel in this product. Not only the label, not only the type of it, not only the marketing overview of the product, but also the other things. We also have this big problem, as I already said, that Bulgarian authorities have some problems with following the health claims, which is not allowed under the EU law. For example, in Bulgaria, we have a lot of master chefs shows in the television, which are giving advices to use, for example, chia. Chia is not so popular in Bulgaria, so labeling with this kind of stuff is a problem, because they not always can have the follow-up of the product. For example, like it is with the meat from the table to the fork and so on. Another problem, which is major for our perspective, is weak market surveillance. We have some people patrol which is following the prices before being part of the European system. So we have the problem with inflation. We have problem with the market, with the label in euro, and the differences between the both prices. As a result, not complicated products are still reaching consumers. And as a conclusion, I may say that labels may be confusing to the or misleading, like Tani said before. And we might not realize the product contains novel food and eat it, which may lead to some problems with the bacteria, with allergies, and so on. And as a conclusion, it is important to read labels carefully, especially for consumers with health food problems. And unfortunately, the Bulgarian EFSA equivalent is not taking too much time to follow the problem. So this is major stuff we have to work on. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrei, and thank you to the roundtable is finished. So I can open a Q&A. I don't know if there are some questions around.
So far, we don't have any questions appearing in our questions and answer session. but if somebody would like to intervene.
Yes, from the outside, of course, the outside. But the webinar people is participating outside the. We are waiting just 1 minute to have open questions. While we are waiting, I start to thank anyway all the speakers, of course, that are participated to the webinar, the institutions in general, and the consumers, of course. And I want also to thank to Davide Esposito and Danilo Petretti because of they worked with us in Safe and they organized this webinar, and also Quentin from Digital Transformer, that is the outsourcing company that helps to make the webinars. It seems that there are no answers from the back. Yes.
No, there is nothing.
So I can start to make the closing remarks, of course, at the conclusion. It seems that anyway, now food an opportunity for consumer. No, there is something. Oh, sorry. Is there a potential condition between a section for consumer? Yeah, this is a very important question that yes. Let's write this question and see if our consumers are.
Can I read the video?
Yes, you can read.
Okay, we have a question from Christian. Is there a potential contradiction between as much information for consumer, example, for healthy safety, environmental sustainability, animal welfare, and simplified language so that people still understand it?
Wants to answer too much information. There was a song by Police. This was the title, not too much information. Yes. Is it a problem? Too much information.
I would just say that it's definitely it's something to be considered. Like, what is the appropriate amount of information, not to confuse consumers also, but still being able to guide them as well. So I just think it's something that's really under development all the time, and still need to have a lot of discussions with consumers, as other organizations here are having as well. So it's a very good question, and something to keep being very considerate about also, so we actually are helping consumer and not confusing them, and also kind of holding ourselves back for the transition that we would like to see in our diets as well also.
No other answers? I can say that to have information is important. Of course, I don't need all information. I'm looking for some information, but you have to anyway to find it. So there is no one that can say, no, this information is not important, or I simplified it. Because if you do it for me, I don't find finally the information that I need. I mean, that means that too much information should be anyway an opportunity to have the information. Probably we have to think about the use of terms, for example, sustainability, but also novel food. When we talk about something that is novel, as we have seen, normally we have two positions, someone that is open to the novel and something that is against the novel. So it's difficult to talk about novel food with these people. It's something that you are creating a kind of barrier immediately when you're talking about it. It is really new. So this is something that we have also to think about if you want to shift in the people in the use of this novel product. It's an opportunity, but we want to be sure, and we are also to spread how those products are controlled in the market after the authorization, because are novel anyway. So we have to better understand how, and the Commission should maybe take it in consideration. The problem of the prices is always a problem, especially in this period of a war, where the prices and the purchasing power, the prices increased and the purchasing power decreased. About the supermarket, we had another webinar 6 months ago, and where we talked about a specific novel food, in this case, self-cultivated meat. And in the panel there were the retailers, the Eurocommerce, and they told us also something that was really interesting. They say that yes, you can sell this kind of product, but remember those are alternative proteins. So you are alternative to in the mind of the consumers. But they have still an alternative that is very, very well known, and are all the plant-based products people have and can buy now. If you have to enter in the market with other alternatives, it's very difficult. So that's why probably now the supermarket are not so happy to put these new products in a specific part. There is anyway the first information that you can give to the consumers is the label. So we have anyway to think about really use these first information to promote or to let in any way people make their own choices with the labeling. The regulation that we have now is not really useful, of course, but we know that the Commission is going to be to make a review of this regulation in the next years. Is one of the things that they have to do. And yes, one of the information that we have to give is always how to use this novel food in general. I think that yes, I taken all the points that went out from the discussion. And so I can close. If there are any other remarks from the round table, I can close the webinar. Thank you again, all the speakers and my colleagues, and Quentin from the Digital Transformer. And we will see in the next month, because we have to have other webinars and this on novel food for their epic shift. So we will take all the information that we have that you have sent that were given us in this webinar, and we will start from the conclusion and to talk more in deep about that and going on with the epic shift project. Many thanks again, and see you next month. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.